All right. Well, as I previewed to you earlier this week, Trump's FBI is falling apart. The firings, the layoffs, the resignations, whatever you want to call them, are starting. And we have now learned that Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino is leaving the FBI. Now, it was announced on the platform formerly known as Twitter. It's now called X. We used to call them tweets. Now we call them excretions. And in a particularly unhinged excretion, Dan Bongino announcing his resignation, posting, quote, "I will be leaving my position with the FBI in January. I want to thank President Trump, AG Bondi, and Director Patel for the opportunity to serve with purpose. Most importantly, I want to thank you, my fellow Americans, for the privilege to serve you. God bless America and all those who defend her." Now, there are a couple of possibilities here. Number one, this is a sort of firing. He was told it's time to resign, pushed out by Trump or others for continued incompetence. And indeed, there is plenty of incompetence to go around at the FBI. Don't you think that Kash Patel is going to be able to hog it all for himself? Bongino definitely gets his fair share of the incompetence. Now, possibility number two is that Bongino sees the writing on the wall and he is getting out as the dumpster fire is not yet a dumpster inferno. Now, of course, all of us who watched with great interest and horror, as Donald Trump selected his team for the second term, a low-rent conspiracy podcaster like Dan Bongino is not likely to work out as your deputy FBI director. I think a conspiracy theorist cuckoo guy like Kash Patel is also unlikely to work out as your FBI director. That remains to be seen. Trump asked about this, sort of seemed a little bummed, but said, no, Dan is doing a great job. Dan did a great job, past tense, speaking already. But then check out what else Donald Trump says. Look at this.
Oh, Dan did a great job. I think he wants to go back to his show. Yeah, I do.
He says, I think he wants to go back to his show. Trump mentions, on the one hand, Trump is so full of himself that he operates under the paradigm or framework that working for him is the most prestigious and honorable thing anybody could do. Anybody would be thrilled and just overcome with joy and passion for anything Trump sets them up to do, because there's nothing better than working for Trump. On the other hand, Trump just casually mentions, like, quitting the FBI deputy directorship after a few months to go back to doing a podcast is a normal thing. But is that normal? Is that patriotic? Is that respectful to the president that gave you this opportunity to go back to doing a podcast at the end of the day after being the deputy director of the FBI? Is that a respectful action to the country? I mean, it's truly pathetic stuff. And as a reminder, here was Dan Bongino back in May, and we covered this at the time. He was already clearly not enjoying it. Remember this?
I mean, I gave up everything for this. I mean, my wife is struggling. I'm not a victim. I'm not Jim Comey. It's fine. I did this, and I'm proud I did it. But if you think we're there for tea and crumpets, well, I mean, Kash is there all day. We share it. Our offices are linked. He turns on the faucet. I hear it. He's there he gets in at like 6 o'clock in the morning. He doesn't leave till 7 at night. I'm in there at 7:30 in the morning. He uses the gym. I work out in my apartment. But I stare at these four walls all day in D.C., by myself, divorced from my wife. Not divorced, but I mean separated, divorced. And it's hard. I mean, we love each other, and it's hard to be apart.
But you're doing some great work. You're straightening out the FBI. You're moving buildings. There's a lot of change. I
got one more thing.
Poor Dan, he doesn't get to see his wife, and it's just so difficult. And it's sort of funny, and I guess also kind of depressing, that there is so much talk among these people that they are truly the patriotic ones. If you're on the left and you want Medicare for all, it's such an unpatriotic, un-American thing. If you're on the left and there's a military engagement that you say, I don't support that, not under my name, you aren't being patriotic. If you just don't say whatever Donald Trump is doing is great, they say you are not really patriotic. And then these are the very same people who get an opportunity, jobs that are truly coveted jobs. I mean, for people in law enforcement, deputy director of the FBI, whether it's glamorous or not in reality, I know a lot of these jobs end up being extremely bureaucratic on a day-to-day basis. That's not what this is about. If you get one of those opportunities, this is public service. This is the way to really give back to the country that they say gave them so much and the opportunity. And then you quit after a few months to go back and do your podcast. And so this is, again, another reminder, not that we needed it. And I spoke about this a lot recently on podcasts I've been doing. Why don't I engage in philosophical debates with a lot of these right-wingers? Because the philosophy and the principles matter only when they are politically convenient. If it is politically convenient to say, when you are offered a job by the president, you take the job, you stay in the job, you do the best job you can. You don't quit to go back and do a podcast after a few months. Then it's politically convenient. But when it's Dan Bongino and it's a disaster and he's getting clowned by everybody, probably sees the writing on the wall to a degree of the legacy that is going to be associated with people who worked for this FBI, all of a sudden the principle that you work for your country and you serve the president and it doesn't matter. Because they don't really care. And we've seen this happen with endless principles. Oh, we're against intervention by the government in private businesses. Well, yeah, until you're not, and until you want to tell CBS what to do, and you want to tell Twitter what to do, and you want to tell Facebook what to do, and you want to tell CNN what to do. We are for individual liberty. Yeah, until you want to start telling other people what they can or can't do with regard to parenting, with regard to vaccines, with regard to romantic relationships. And so that's why, as I wrote in my book, I think the foundational principles on which we base our politics are good for us to know so that we understand why do we come to conclusions on policy. But these endless black hole philosophical debates with people who will debate you about their supposed principles and then abandon them like a bad habit as soon as they're inconvenient, waste of time. Certainly not something that makes sense for me to get involved in. Do it at your own peril. Dan Bongino, you didn't really conquer. I guess you came and saw. I don't know, but he's going bye-bye. Thanks for watching. Check out this other video. And if you like our content, make sure to subscribe so YouTube puts our videos in your feed, and subscribe to the podcast on Spotify and Apple.